Hi and welcome to Aussie Property Riches. My name's Brendan Kelly and I'm excited to be here to take you on the journey through the world of development and renovation.
And I am Francis Goh, his better half. Together, we'll explore the world of creating wealth through property.
In each episode, we'll take you behind the scenes of groundbreaking developments, share expert insights, and feature success stories from the industry's top professionals.
So whether you are a seasoned developer or just curious about the industry, we've got something for everyone. So join us and tune in to Aussie Property Riches. Let's get going!
Hi and welcome. My name's Brendan Kelly and I'm joined today by Francis Goh. Welcome, Francis.
Thank you, Brendan. Glad to be here.
Francis is an experienced developer and director of Prime Land Consultants. I'm also joined by David Klingberg. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Brendan. Great to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
David is the Director of Smart Planning and Design. I'd also like to introduce you today, Jimmy Goh. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to join you. Yep.
Pleasure. Jimmy is also a Director of Prime Land Consultants. On the fast track to financial freedom, we need to evolve beyond renovations. It's a great place to start, a brilliant strategy to begin the journey as we delve into more complex strategies on our way to financial freedom. As we evolve and we take on more complex strategies, some of the ones that we get into, and the one that we're going to talk about today, is subdivision, the idea of taking a larger block of land and selling smaller blocks. So let's get into subdivision. What is it? How do we make it happen? Who will be involved? So Francis, what is subdivision?
Subdivision is the act of dividing a bigger parcel into smaller parcels.
And what are some of the big ticket items we need to consider in order to execute that endeavour?
Sure, the starting point is how much land you actually have. And the second is any planning restrictions. And the third, how do you bring services to the lots that you're trying to create? And then finally, when you tick all the boxes, you actually lodge it at the titles office and get new titles created.
And this is not a DIY process. We're going to need to engage people. We're going to need to have a team. Who are the key team members for subdivision?
So a town planner and a licensed land surveyor.
So then, isn't it fortunate that we have land surveyors and town planners with us today? I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. We have
would
the
have
right
thought
people
it?
in the room.
All right, great. So quick question for you. Can you think of a client that came to you with a big project and it was difficult to start with, but you had a win in the end, and what solved it?
We've had a number of projects we've dealt with over the years that have had complex town planning issues. Those town planning issues a lot of the time come about because there are schedules to the zones and overlays in the planning scheme that can cause potential problems when you are designing your subdivision and implementing that subdivision. So for example, you might have a vegetation protection overlay, which means the trees can't be moved, you can't lop down the trees, and where you are going to be putting the subdivision line, that subdivision can't happen there. So what we've done in the past is we've worked with great land surveyors like Francis, we've worked with great designers to design the solution post-purchase of the site. If it had been my site to begin with, I would have run a mile.
Right, okay.
I would have run a mile.
So you're suggesting that planning and site selection
Yes.
is a big influence on the success and ease of a project you take on.
Brendan, it is absolutely key. You need to do your due diligence. Even before you buy the site, make sure the design will work from day one and minimise your risks.
So, Jimmy, is that a recommendation you'd put forward to the people that you've spoken to, your clients?
A client may have, the land resources or even money, but he need to have the right people to help him to carry out the work.
So you're a fan of getting the team in place before buying the land, or go and buy the land and then let's figure out the team later?
Before purchasing a land, so the person has to do some due diligence. He can engage the town planner to do some preliminary feasibility study. Also the license surveyor to carry out the title search, thing like that. And also where there is a problem area on services, potential drainage of flooding, he may have to engage, get advice from the civil engineer to get some initial assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. Like services are actually the most expensive item.
So
in a
what other
subdivision.
services?
So typically sewer, water, stormwater, telecommunications, electricity. And another thing to David's point about design is like don't just think about how the lots are going to look. You actually have to think beyond the lots and how the houses are going to fit on there. Because there's no point having a vacant lot that is not conducive for a dwelling or building
Yeah.
on the lot.
So land size is really quite important then. All right. So my experience around this suggests that if we're attempting to subdivide a lot into 300 or less, we're actually not allowed to do it without building first. Is that fair?
When you say building first, Brendan, you're actually, I think what we're talking about is getting an approval for that development on that site.
Or in fact, the idea we've got is that you can't actually have titles issued until construction is complete on the dwelling. Okay, so then there's another environment, which is if you're subdividing into lots 300 to 500, you can sell the land separately, but you've got to put what they call I call a footprint or
Building
a
envelope.
building
Building
envelope.
envelope.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, and then post 500, it doesn't matter. Pretty much.
Not always
Pretty
the
much,
case. Not always the case, but
Pretty
yes.
And that's why you need to surround yourself with the experts who can navigate through that process and advocate for you at council to find out what they need in order for you to have the right planning pathway to get the approval for the subdivision.
Yeah, as far as council is concerned, council, they are the authority. Their main concern is a public opinion, the neighborhood opinion. So they try to minimize this complaint later on. So that's why they ask for you must have a minimum building envelope, or sometimes they ask you to prepare a plan, a full architecture plan, so that they want to know what exactly you want to do.
So, Jimmy, a client of yours, how would you advise a client if they came to you and said, I want to do a subdivision, I want to do a development? What would you suggest? Where would you suggest they start?
Yeah, if he had already purchased the land, we have to do an assessment, at least a preliminary assessment, or we call it even feasibility study.
Yeah, feasibility.
Yeah, feasibility. So in that, the feasibility, we have to get town planner, licensed surveyor advice, even sometimes civil engineer advice, or even arborist, even environmentalist advice. It depends on the planning requirement. That's where planner can advise. I also will advise them, this land development is not something can be done in a short time. You need time and resources. It's not something you get a land, you chop into, you get it up.
So it's not like buying a slab of Coke from the supermarket and walking down the street and flogging it at $2 a can at a football game, let's say.
It's nothing like buying cans of Coke, Brendan.
No, it's not.
much more complex than that. And I'm so glad.
Well, should we be scared though?
No, you shouldn't be scared if you surround yourself with the right team. And I'm so glad Jemmy started to delve into the composition of that team, because the planning scheme, understanding the planning scheme and all the rules and regulations starts to outline who you need on your team. If you've got controls that are to do with trees, you'll need an arborist.
Yeah.
If you have a sloping site, you might need an engineer to start to tackle all those issues about retaining walls, that sort of thing. After the surveyor does their due diligence, if you have some interesting garages on your land that shouldn't be there, you need to start to talk about what does that mean for your development potential and how are you going to get compensation. Once you start looking at what you're wanting to achieve, that will start to give you an understanding of the team you need around you. You will also need, as Jimmy said, these other professionals to minimise the risk and start the process in a way that is cost effective and fast.
And it's not always also just about minimizing risk. It's actually a compulsory requirement in most cases for any planning applications or subdivision certification processes. So, things like arborist report, things like traffic engineers report, all these things, they actually
have to be submitted.
They're not just about
with the
minimizing
application.
risk, but they are reports that are literally a compulsory requirement for certain applications.
So as we've seen, subdivision can be simple, it can be complex. You can get into smaller size lots and larger size lots. Really, there's a multitude of choice available for you. but getting the right block will make the difference. Up next, we're going to talk about what the right block actually looks like and how we might go about finding it.